Hi everyone. This is the recording that goes along with Module 1. It's intended to complement the lecture notes and to provide a visual and auditory way of learning for people who prefer that method. So I told you that we were going to be talking about some topics in instructional technology, and one of them is the ISTE standards. So the ISTE standards for students provide a foundation for what students should learn in order to be competent technology users. There are technology standards for students, teachers, coaches, administrators, education leaders. There's a whole variety. So today and in this class, we're going to be looking at some of these. The Empowered Learner domain is a domain that shows students using technology to guide their learning. It's an important part of differentiated instruction or personalized learning when they can choose what they would like to do to succeed. The Global Collaborator allows students to use digital tools to communicate with students in other areas and work together on a project, learning together, and also learning to appreciate their culture and to think on a broader sense. The Innovative Designer uses tools to generate ideas, test theories. They use all kinds of different tools and bring them together in whatever's needed. So it could be doing a scientific study where you're bringing in lab data and crunching it in a spreadsheet and analyzing the data and then doing something with it. The Creative Communicator is a domain in which students learn to communicate clearly using different forms of technology and learning to choose the appropriate form for what they're doing, whether it's text, PowerPoint or presentation tools, video, or whatever it is. And the computational thinker learns to think logically like the computer. So you learn to think in a coding sense that if this, then that. And computational thinker starts doing some of the initial coding. And Digital Citizen understands the rights and responsibilities of technology users so that they are using technology safely and without hurting others. And then the Knowledge Constructor, that's an important one because that involves curating. So that's using digital resources to maybe assemble tools that will be a resource. So one of the social media tools that we will be looking at is Wakelet, and that's one that you can use for knowledge constructing. You can bring in all kinds of different websites or PDFs or readings and make them available in that area. Similar actually to Pinterest, where you might set up a board on something. Or there's another more sophisticated one called Scoop It, which is used more academically for curating a certain topic, and you set yourself up as a, like, quote, expert on that topic, subject matter expert. So it's important to integrate technology into the classroom, but you want to do it seamlessly. Technology for technology's sake is never worth doing. But, if you can use technology in a meaningful way, it can make a big difference in how students learn. So here's a little video that we'll take a quick look at.
People have been integrating technology in the classroom forever. What I think is really exciting about what we're seeing now is that technology is being used to fundamentally transform what the classroom is, fundamentally transform what you can do with the classroom.
I think to define technology integration is really using whatever resources you have to the best of your abilities. Technology, it's a tool. It's what you do with that tool, what you can make, what you allow the students to make. That's really what technology is about. You can do this lesson without technology, that's great. But if you can do it better with technology, then that's why you use it. That's why you use tools.
This is a list of different applications that you can use to like make music or do art. I've used it to record some of my personal narratives that I've written. My eyes were drooping. I was drifting off to sleep.
Students today are creating using digital tools. They're not creating using analog tools. For us to feel like we really are connecting with our kids and to make learning fun for our kids and meaningful, we need to meet them where they are. Kids can create podcasts, movies, songs to express their ideas, express their thoughts, but also to express their learning.
When you create, you take ownership of your learning. You understand it in a very different way than if you just memorized something from a textbook, or if you just read it over and over again, or watched it in someone else's film. If you were able to translate that information into your own film, your own content, your own something to share, that's just amazing.
And sometimes they learn things we didn't expect them to learn. Like I had my second graders reflect on the project they did, and some of them said, I learned how to get along with somebody, or I learned how to work with somebody. This internet thing that has become a big part of our lives.
So you can look at the full video if you would like to when you see the slides. I'm providing them at the bottom of the presentation page so that you can look over them again in case I'm talking too fast, or you can take a closer look at the videos. There are different levels of technology integration, of course, just as there are different levels of everything. So we look at this from like beginning, developing, proficient, and advanced, or in this SAMR approach, we have substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And the flow would be from the substitution level, which is basically using a word processor instead of a typewriter, or that most basic tool, to redefinition, where the technology totally redefines the lesson. It would not be possible. Like you can do a living history of some place and go, out to a historic site, take some pictures, interview some people who may have been alive during that time, and then collect it all and put it on a website or put it on a video, or like they said, a podcast, or whatever you want. So taking a closer look at these, the substitution might be when students print a worksheet, fill it out in a pen and pass it in. So there's no actual change to the teaching. They're touching the technology kind of like superficially, but it's really not using it. This is a kind of they call it teacher-centric, where the instructor is guiding all aspects of the learning, and it's not student-centric. Then in augmentation, the technology is a substitute, but there's some functional improvement. So this could be, if you're looking at something using a tool like Notability, which you might use on an iPad, where you have a PDF and you're able to notate it, you're able to highlight words and look them up in a dictionary, and get a lot more out of it than just reading and taking notes on the PDF. Then there's modification, which is where you're looking at a major change to how you're doing things, and so it starts to be an active part of what students are doing. I had a teacher when I was tech director, and she was reading Chaucer's Canterbury Tales with this group of 10th graders who totally did not want to be there. And so she assigned groups. Each group had one tale that they had to create a video of. So like one group had the Miller's Tale, and they came up with a really funny body type of video. And, they did it at home. They had a great time doing it. And they also gained an appreciation of, Middle English literature. So that really became more student-centric, and they learned a lot just because of how they were using the technology to learn the work. Did we skip? Oh, I don't see. Oh, here's redefinition. And in the redefinition is when everything is totally different. So you might have the students creating what they're doing as as creating the lesson. And we're going to be talking a little bit about Bloom's taxonomy. And if you remember, that creating is the highest level in Bloom. So another model that we would use instead of SAMR might be the grappling model. This is one of the early models by Bernadine Porter. And again, she's got the entry level technology literacy when you're learning to use the technology. Adaptation is when you're adapting the technology to a lesson, and then the higher level is the transformation. So she presents hers in these 3 columns, and I have the sheet attached as an attachment in one of the readings so that you can look at it. But basically, in literacy, the focus is on learning the technology. It would be like going to a class and learning to use Microsoft Word or learning to use PowerPoint, but it's not really an instructional focus that fits into a subject. Then when you're adapting, you're using that technology. So I was in a class one time, like an 8th or 9th grade history class, and the teacher had the students creating study guides to get ready for their finals. So they each had a topic out of the book, and they had to create a PowerPoint and present it to the class that were the highlights on that topic, like the, I don't know, early Greece or whatever it might have been. And then in the transformational uses, they would be doing something totally different, something along the lines of creating the videos or teaching the class something, or, a lot of different things that we're working towards. So the 2 focuses that we started with were enhancement and transformation in the beginning of the SAMR, where enhancement was substitution and augmentation, transformation was modification and redefinition, and now we can see how the scale is tipped towards the transformation. So if you're looking for some sample activities, my favorite matrix is this Florida Center for Instructional Technology, and they have created a matrix that is just really helpful. So it uses 5 levels, but similar to what we were talking about with the 4, you can just assume that there's one more added in, which would be the infusion. But starting with entry level, working up to transformation. And then this also breaks it down to what kind of a lesson you want. You want something that's active, collaborative, constructive. If you're a constructivist, they're using technology tools to build on something that they're doing. Authentic learning, goal-directed. And you can choose what kind of a classroom you have, and then go to one of these boxes. Say you want something that's active, that may be at the adaptation level. So now you have descriptors for student, teacher, and setting, and a list of videos that you can look at of lessons where the students are doing something in this way. So then at the bottom, you come down to related resources, and they give you some slides that you could use with this lesson, and a matrix or whatever you're going to be using. But say we decide to look at Freedom Quilt Squares and see what that lesson's about. So there's a video. There's a full matrix that goes back to that technology integration matrix. This shows where this lesson is on the matrix. It shows what subject It shows what subject, language arts, math, science, and social studies. and you can narrow yours down later if you want to choose. And then it goes into that particular lesson, which is 3 to 5. And the responders, they want you to have the clickers, document camera, and computer for each student. Keynote is the presentation tool that they're using. So we're just going to take a little look at the video.
In today's lesson, students are going to be using student responses to text in some of the dangers the slaves faced on their journey to freedom. By using this technology, it allows students to have an environment in which they feel comfortable to share some of their thoughts and some of the things the slaves may have faced as they went on their journey to freedom. At the end of the lesson, the teacher demonstrates the journey the slaves took on their route to freedom, pointing out, using a document camera, some of the physical features of the land as they moved northward to Canada. What they notice is that there are some features of land, such as mountains or rivers or swampland. Students then get a chance to create their very own quilt square. Using Keynote program, they might use triangles to represent mountains because that's what's used for legends on maps. They could also freeform some shapes if they want to show some rivers. This lesson provides the perfect opportunity to integrate some of the 21st century technology tools available in the schools.
So then you get the lesson plan and everything else that goes along with that. On the right, though, you can use this this set of bullets, and say you wanted to do an authentic social studies lesson at the infusion level, just picking that out, and it will show you this African water crisis. So you could take a look at this video. The lesson is to create public service announcements about it, and then you have more information here. So I find this to be a very good tool for you to use if you want to know more about the some examples of how you can use technology.